Here with the cadets. We got to get this corporate, y'all. We got to get them. We got to get them now. Greetings, Scrumcademy cadets. I am your Sergeant Grand Scrum Master Scott, and it's training day. But not the Denzel Washington version. You have been handpicked to join the elite CSIT 32 team, the complete Scrum investigation unit, committed to safeguarding the Scrum world from the notorious Scrum Dumb. Today, we're plunging headfirst into the realm of power questions, arming ourselves with the trusty Burndown Charts and chasing after the ever-elusive velocity. There is a warrant out for their arrest, and it is our mission to bring them to justice. We're on a crusade to unearth the truth. As Scrum enforcers, our duty is to equip you with the knowledge and tools needed to maintain order in the Scrum realm and put a halt to Scrum Dumb's misdeeds once and for all. So cadets, buckle up. Grab your badges. Grab your badges. Grab your badges and Scrum magnifying glasses, because today we are embarking on a comprehensive journey into the daily life of a bona fide Scrum Master. We've got an open case. We have issued an APB, all points bulletin. It's all hands on, ladies and gentlemen. All hands on deck as we work together to apprehend these culprits. Meanwhile, cadets, join us in the interrogation room as we question 5 key suspects. Stay tuned to uncover the secrets behind a Scrum Master's commitment to serve, protect, and uphold the core tenets of Scrum. Let's get it done, CSIT 32. Now, let the adventure begin. Welcome back, Scrumcademy cadets. I want to take some time and make sure everybody has their badge. Yes, Sergeant Adams. Yes, Sergeant Adams. Not this badge. These badges. How are you working on your skill set? Because there's a direct correlation to how good you're going to be as a Scrum Master to the skills that you have to bring to the table. So I want you to begin to work on your skill set today. The other thing I asked you to bring was, everybody has their magnifying glass. A magnifying glass is a symbol of transparency. We want to make things transparent in Scrum. In fact, I'm going to give you a hack. I'm going to give you something veteran Scrum Masters know and veteran Scrum Masters do. So I'm going to go back to the old Scrum Guide, 2017 version, and I'm going to quote something for you. I would highly recommend you go back to previous versions and look at the evolution of the Scrum Guide. The 2017 version, it was very prescriptive. In fact, lays out exactly what your backlog refinement should be like. It lays exactly what your sprint review should look like. But of course, in the 2020 revision, it is less prescriptive. And that's one of the reasons I recommend that. So if you've never done a sprint review before, a backlog refinement before, you can go back to the 2017 Scrum Guide. And it's pretty much a step-by-step guide. Now, maybe you start there and then tweak it and modify it to your own liking. Now, going back to the 2017 Scrum Guide, page 17, the Scrum Master Job is to work with the Scrum Team and the organization to increase transparency of the artifacts. This work usually involves learning, convincing, and change. Transparency doesn't occur overnight, but it is a path. What I'm going to do for you today is really help you to understand that as a Scrum Master, if you're just starting out on your job, what are you doing the first week? What are you doing the second week? What are you doing the third week? And what are you doing the fourth week? So we're here at week 1. It's your first day on the job. What are you going to be doing? The first week, you're going through onboarding for at least the first couple of days. Certainly, you'll be engaged with the team before the end of the week. You may not have access to the environments that you need at this particular point in time. That's perfectly okay. So what can I be doing in the meantime? Start asking questions and learning your team. I have at least 7 questions that I ask each role in Scrum about their position. And these questions are designed to help me understand where they are in understanding their job and also trying to make things more transparent so that we all can see what's going on. And If a problem arises, we have systems in place where it is made transparent real quick so that we can jump on it and solve that problem or situation and then move on to what it is we're trying to accomplish, which is what? To deliver amazing products to our stakeholders and customers. If I sound a big rash in the meeting y'all came to before y'all got in this room, I am. I'm sick and tired of Scrum Dumb messing up Scrum Team. I'm sick and tired of the product owner looking like a glorified waiter or waitress. I'm tired of the Scrum Master looking like a secretary and developers. Oh my goodness. The organization just won't let go of that command and control spirit. I don't know. Scrum Dumb. So how do we get this culprit Scrum Dumb? How do we catch him? How do we catch her? We got to catch her. Because Scrum Dumb is preventing our Scrum teams from delivering something amazing, something legendary to our customers. Let's start with the questions I ask my product owner. This is very laid back. I'm going to give you the top 3 questions that I ask each and every role. Let's start off with the product owner. We have 5 suspects in custody right now that we're going to bring in this interrogation room, and we're going to ask them these questions that I'm asking you right now. But I want you to understand, why are we asking these questions? For the product owner, when he or she comes in here, the top 3 questions I'm going to ask is, product owner, what product do you own? And I'm going to wait for the answer. The next question, what is your vision for the product owner? And then finally, product owner, who is your customer? Now, Scott, why do you ask those questions? Well, I ask those questions because as I read the Scrum Guide, the product owner feels to me like a CEO of a company, an entrepreneur of a business. Yeah. As you're looking at your product owner in your environment, does your product owner look like the CEO of the Scrum team? Does your product owner act and feel like they spending money coming out of their own pocket, an entrepreneur? Are they moving and making decisions in that category? Do they even really know who this product is for? That's a vitally important question that you need to know the answer to. Every product owner should know the answers to those 3 basic questions. And if not, we have a culprit somewhere, and the product owner is going to need us to provide them excellent servant leadership. Not serving leadership. I said servant leadership. Now let's move over to the Scrum Master. Some questions I'm going to ask myself as a Scrum Master. Some questions I ask other Scrum Masters. Scrum Masters, how do you identify and prioritize areas for improvement? What do you use to capture that? Can you name a recent impediment the team faced and how you resolved it? Okay. How are you tracking your impediments? What is something you learned in the last retrospective that you incorporated into your next sprint? Sometimes when I go on a team, I have a Scrum Master that is there getting ready to leave. I give them the respect they deserve, but when they leave, I'm going to assume all responsibilities of that role. But in the meantime, if there happens to be a Scrum Master there, I'm going to have a one-on-one, bring that Scrum Master in this interrogation room. We may be at some conference room in the office or wherever that may look like in your environment. And I'm going to ask him or her those 3 questions. A, give me an idea of his or her experience and knowledge with Scrum. And also, it's going to give me a feel for what am I really getting into? What kind of teaching am I going to have to do on this Scrum team? These questions are giving me information I need to know so that I can identify how I can effectively provide servant leadership to this Scrum team. Now I'm going to go over to the developers. I'm going to bring the developers in this interrogation room. And some of the questions I'm going to ask the developers is, developers, how do you ensure the code base remains clean if we're in IT? Maintainable and adheres to quality standards? Most of the time, companies have some type of standard operational procedure. But hopefully the Scrum team is going to tell me that they do have a definition of done, which in Scrum means quality and completeness. I'm hoping that whatever they say, that it's some in their sentence is going to be the definition of done. I hope that's there. Do you do code review with developers? Do you do peer programming, paired programming, something like that? What is the percent of your code that's covered by automated tests? That helps me understand how much work we can take in at sprint planning, depending upon what kind of automation they have. So their answers to that question help me begin to see what is the team's capacity. Then I'm going to ask some general questions to the entire Scrum team. The top 3 questions I'm going to ask is, What is working well today that you would like to see more of? What has improved the most over the last 12 months? What has improved the least over the last 12 months? These are the top 3 questions that I'm going to ask when I'm in the interrogation room for the first week. So there you have it. I will do another video because those questions really need a deep dive, standalone on their own. But in that video, what I would do, I would segment it and bring the product owner into the interrogation room. And you and I are going to interrogate this product owner ourselves. Also, I will provide you some answers that I get when I run this exercise with my Scrum teams. Again, I'm just in the first week of me getting started on the Scrum team. Doesn't matter if they're brand new to Scrum or they say they've been doing Scrum 5, 10, 20 years. It doesn't matter. This is a step that I do on every Scrum team. It is a way to help me understand where they at so that I can serve them best. I don't want to make assumptions. So I'm going to ask an awful lot of questions in the beginning. Interrogation. Very nice. Guess what's about to come now? Did you read your Scrum guide today or listen to it today? If you did, you would have noticed that I missed defining what the Scrum Master does in the previous section. Scrum Master is accountable for making sure Scrum is used and used well. That's us. The developers are the people in Scrum who do the work. So make sure you're reading your Scrum guide each and every day. Make sure you're listening to it. Again, I have made it super duper convenient for you to check it out whenever you want. I even time-stamped it so that even when you're in your workplace, you run across something and you don't have access to a computer, you got your cell phone and you're getting ready for a meeting, you can go back to the audio version and it is time-stamped. Just listening to it while you're on your way to the meeting. In case if you forgot some things. Making it super duper easy for you. But let's move on to Burndown Charts. Now let's go over the Burndown Charts. Let me ask you this. Can you find Burndown Charts anywhere in the Scrum Guide? If your answer is yes, you would be absolutely correct. Now my second question is, where can you find Burndown Charts mentioned in the Scrum Guide? Not sure about that? There's your homework for you. Now Burndown Charts is a complementary practice in Scrum, meaning that we do not have to do it. If you're on a Scrum team that are not using Burndown Charts, I would recommend it as a way to visualize things to make things more transparent. Now, I've seen this used in 2 formats. Either the developers are going to use it to monitor their sprint progress towards the sprint goal, and the product owner could use this to monitor progress towards the overall product goal. So let's take a look at one here that's actually used to monitor sprint progress. This would be a developer's Burndown chart. To give you some context, this chart would be a new team just starting out with Scrum. This is their first sprint. I want to show you how it will tell you a story without you talking to your team. So let's take a look at it. As you can see on the vertical axis here, we have the number of product backlog items. It can be whatever this number is to the Scrum team. It doesn't matter. So we see 0 to 250. And then on the horizontal line, we see the date. So if we're looking at July the 26th here to August the 13th, that looks approximately a 2-week sprint. Okay. So we see here on July 26th, let's assume we had sprint planning and the team took in approximately 150 items. Again, that number is only relevant to this team. Now, as we can see on the 27th, they took some more stuff into their sprint backlog. And on the 28th, they took in even some more stuff on the 28th. If I'm a Scrum Master, am I worried? No, I'm not worried. As I forestated, this is their first sprint. That tells me they're going through a serious learning curve. Okay. But I'm going to just keep that thought to myself right now. And if there's an issue along the way, we'll address it at what event? Daily Scrum, if there's an issue. Come July the 29th, I definitely will be listening at Daily Scrum to see what has happened over the previous days and how we're navigating through those issues as a Scrum team. It's coming down, it's coming down, it's coming down. Now, the other thing I'm going to highlight here is I'm looking at August the 6th approximately to August the 9th. As we can see, we have a little flat line. What's going on here? I want to flag that in my mind. Maybe ask some questions amongst the developers, see what's going on there. And then as we can see on the 11th, look like the sprint is over on the 13th or the 14th, but basically from the 11th to the 14th, what does that tell me? We have a steep drop in this graph, which means what? But it tells you that if you're in an environment where you have testers and that's all they do is test only, the last few days of the sprint was hell for them, pure hell. So if you're getting ready for sprint retrospective, let's say you have sprint retrospective tomorrow or later on today, and you're looking at this graph and you're trying to figure out what questions are you going to ask at sprint retrospective. Well, I have 3 that you can ask, all from just reading this chart, not even talking to anybody. So this is what we do in the first week. I'm looking at their Burndown chart, if they have one. Then if a Scrum Master is there, if that Scrum Master is facilitating the retrospective, I'm hoping that he or she is going to call out the 3 things that I'm seeing with my eyes according to this Burndown chart, as well as you seeing too. But if they don't, I'm certainly going to raise it. Scrum Master Scott, you got anything you want to say? Yeah. Hey, can we go to this Burndown chart? I got 3 questions. Can y'all tell me what did y'all learn from July the 26th to July 28th when y'all went up by about 100 points in 2 days? Then the other thing I'm going to ask is, okay, between August the 5th and approximately August the 8th or 9th, we had a flat line here. Like we almost died there. What happened here that we went flatline? And then I also want to ask, if I'm in an environment where we have people that only do test only, then I'm going to ask them, testers, how did the sprint feel for the last 2 or 3 days? And I'm going to let that conversation go where it needs to go. You see, our job as Scrum Masters is to reveal and let the team resolve. See how I just did that? So I was using my facilitating hat and my coaching hat and prepared to use my teaching hat based upon the answers that they're going to give me. So hopefully that helps you a super duper lot. Awesome. About 2 years ago, I recall a professional Scrum trainer calling me and say, hey, Scott, I have a blind person on my roster and don't know what to do. I said, well, send them to my class. And luckily I had Toastmasters coming up that weekend. This was like on a Thursday, and I had Toastmasters that Saturday morning. One of the reasons why you want to go there is to get feedback on your speech. But before you give a speech, whoever's doing the evaluation, they will ask you, well, what specifically are you working on today, Scott? I asked him and everybody else in the room. I said, Fabian, I am working on teaching my class to somebody who was blind. He's like, whoa, that's different. I said, yeah, I got a student coming to my class in about 3 weeks, and I want to give my speech today, and I want you to give me feedback as if you are a blind person. I said, in fact, if everybody in the room, if y'all will close your eyes as I'm giving my presentation today and give me feedback in terms of what I need to do so this student can have a legendary experience. And they did that. And they gave me some legendary feedback. And of course, I incorporated that in my class, my videos, and everything I do. You see how powerful Toastmasters is? If you would just only put yourself out there. As I keep saying, feedback is the fastest way to master. I want to give a shout out to my students. I do have several students that are blind. Please give me some feedback on my videos. I have done a lot of practice to make sure that my storytelling, even in my class, is fit for purpose for somebody who's blind. That is another reason why I tell an awful lot of story. I'm very detailed. I could shorten a lot of words, but I go long, in case if you didn't know that. So I repeat myself 3 times for actually 3 reasons. 1, it's a technique I learned from Toastmasters. 2, put it in your long-term memory. And 3, in case if I have a blind student in my class. So I just want to give a shout out to you. Y'all are doing legendary things. Been on my heart and mind this week, so I definitely will be giving you a call, checking on you. I hope y'all internships and your Scrum Master positions are going well. So looking forward to catching up with you. Cadets, let's go to our last topic for the day, which is velocity. I want to talk about how to read a velocity chart. And not every environment that you go in will have a velocity chart, but if they do, great. That gives you more information that you can look at. That gives you more data that you can look at in trying to answer the question in your mind, how can I make things more transparent on this team so we can find the Scrum Dumb culprit and help the team get it done? Why we asking all these questions and looking at these particular documents. On my screen, I have a velocity chart If we look at the vertical axis, we have numbers from 0 to 10 to 20 to 30, and 40 being the highest number. If we look at the horizontal axis, we have the numbers 1 through 9. The vertical axis is the number of product backlog items that they completed. It could be some other number, but we'll just go with it's a product backlog item. On the horizontal axis, we have the sprint number. Sprint number 1, sprint number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. I like this data because this is a histogram. A histogram is a way of taking a lot of data and making it visible. We see a lot of up and downs on these graphs, but if we average all of the graphs, all the data points that's inside of that, their average is the number 33 of the last 8 sprints. The last sprint, they did 36. Again, that 36 is only relevant to the Scrum team. Their mean, the lowest 3, is 28. Now, what can we gain from this diagram? We gain a few things. One of the things I'm looking at as a Scrum Master in the first week, again, if this here is available to me, I'm looking sprint 1 and sprint 2, they went up. They took a huge drop in sprint 3. Now, in the real world, they probably use something like Atlassian Jira. Not only will they have the sprint number, but it will also be a date attached to it. So let's say sprint 3 was the month of December. Basically, in IT, for the month of December, most people take off for the entire month. And some companies are now starting to do furlough in the month of December. So if that's December, I'm not really going to ask any questions because I know in IT, pretty much across the board, there's not much going on in the month of December. But if this is not December, let me ask a question. So let's say sprint 6, which is a lower dip than sprint 3. I look at the calendar across the world. It's not a major holiday. So what am I going to do? I'm going to talk to the developers because this is a velocity chart. The only thing a velocity chart tells you is that the Scrum team did some work. The shortcoming with velocity is it doesn't tell you if the Scrum team delivered any value. They did some stuff. Great. But is it the right stuff? That's what we do not know. And that's why I don't put a whole lot of weight in velocity, because that's all it tells you is that the Scrum team did some work. It doesn't tell you if we gave the customer any value for that work that we did. There's also another way to think about it. It is yesterday's weather. This is already done. Past tense. So how can we use this? Again, this is our first week on the job. One of the things I'm looking at is sprint 3. If that's the month of December or some major holiday, I'm not going to ask any question. But let's go to sprint 6 is low. It's not a major holiday anywhere in the world. So I'm going to go talk to the developers and say, hey, developers, y'all chart looks pretty good. From sprint 3 to sprint 4 to sprint 5, there was a trend up and then there was a huge dip down. What happened? And I want to listen to their story. From their story, that will help me to understand where might they need help. And I will begin to take that data and begin to think about ways in which I can team. Should I deem that there's a problem as a result of that conversation? But that is an easy way to use the velocity chart to get a glimpse of the team and help you craft the right questions to ask so that you can help your team get to where it is that you see them being. I'm hoping that's a great team. I'm hoping that's a legendary team. Beautiful. Scrumcademy cadets, great job. It's been an amazing week. The 3 things that we have learned this week. Number 1, you're going to start off by asking your team an awful lot of questions so that you can understand where they are, how things work in that environment. Number 2, if it's available to you, you're going to look at the Burndown chart to see what that is telling you, if anything. Number 3, you're going to look at a velocity chart, if they have one in your environment, and see what insights you can gain from that. Don't forget about your homework this week. Scrum Guide every day. Make sure you implement these things. Scrum Cadets, make sure you got your badge. These badges. Make sure you got your Scrum Magnifying Glass. And as always, be agile, do Scrum, and be legendary. Let's go get that notorious Scrum Dumb. I'll see you in the next video.